Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing great, as they always say. And in this video, we have a story about a wild experience with a traditional Navajo skinwalker. But I don't entirely know exactly where it's from, so we're going to see how I titled this video. And if that sounds like your cup of tea, then definitely pull up a stump and let's jump into it. Thank you for watching. It was the last summer that we all had together. We, being me and my small group of friends from high school. There was me, my boyfriend, and 4 of our mutual friends. So things don't get confusing, I'm going to call my boyfriend Lee. My 4 friends can be Allie, Harris, Landon, and Kathy. It was originally me and my boyfriend's plan. Just the 2 of us going up to his parents' summer house in a nice rural area. Our friends got wind of it, and we decided to let them in on the fun, so we could all do at least one more fun thing before we all went to different universities. The summer home was really pretty, very rustic. It had big, open windows lining all the walls, so during the day, turning on the lights wasn't even necessary. There were no electronics, but entertainment wasn't an issue because there was a lake not far from the place, and we had each other. We made sure that everyone had a few days free from work and whatnot, and we took off, packing up our big comfy pillows and blankets, stuff for s'mores, hot dogs, and a hatchet for firewood. We took Harris's rig up, a clunker of a van, because it had the most room. It had rained the day before, and the dirt driveway leading to the summer home was all muddy and stuff, so we decided to just leave the car and carry our stuff up to the house. Once we got inside, we pretty much just dumped all of our stuff on the floor of the living room, and we wanted to get down to the lake while the water was still warm. The sun was going to set soon, and we wanted as much time in the lake as possible. There wasn't a lot of people there, just 2 old guys with their kids fishing in a boat. Everyone was in the water at one point, except for Harris and Landon, who were just chilling on the dock. We were all just having fun fighting over an inflatable raft when Landon yelled, "Hey, there's someone in the woods." I brought myself up on the raft and saw what appeared to be a half-naked dude standing in the woods a little ways away from us. I can't really remember facial features, but I do remember his eyes. They were very dark and glittering. They kind of remind me of a fox or something. From what I remember, he was tanned with black hair, and he looked aboriginal, I think. Most of all, though, I remember the eyes. They seemed to shine. Kind of like those pictures you see of animals and their eyes are glinting and glowing from the camera flash. I assumed he was a swimmer, maybe with the old guys who were out there early. I yelled at him and asked him if he wanted to join us, but he just stood there, stiffly, didn't move. It would almost be like that he didn't even notice us if it wasn't for the fact that he was staring straight at us. I remember Lee yelled at him and asked if he was okay, but still no answer. Harris is a big guy, big, irritable guy. He shouted at the guy to stop standing in the effing woods like a pervert. The guy still didn't react, he just stood there with his beige shorts. Lee thought maybe he was on drugs or something, and he got really uncomfortable and suggested that we should leave. I agreed fully. The guy was really creeping us all out. We clambered out of the lake, wrapped ourselves up in our towels, and headed on our way. The trail back to the summer house was all uphill and gave us a good vantage point on the guy. He was still standing down by the lake, still stiff and awkward looking, except his head was turned as far as it could to the side, watching us. Landon is skittish as all hell, and started cursing and telling us to go faster. Harris said he was probably just stupid or something, and if he attacked us, we could take him. So we all went inside the summer house, under the guise of wanting to organize our stuff that we dumped on the floor, but I think that we just didn't want to go outside while that guy was still poking around. We do basically all we can inside, and it's starting to get dark out. Allie volunteers to go outside with Landon to go dig a fire pit, and Harris tags along. Lee says he's going to go out into the woods and get some dead branches and stuff with his hatchet, and I go with him. Kathy said that she'll look for kindling, but I think she was still kind of freaked out. Anyway, me and Lee are out in the woods. He's getting some firewood and sticks to roast food on. I'm stuck carrying the wood since he's the one cutting. The mosquitoes are eating us alive, and all I hear is buzzing. But then the buzzing is weird. It keeps getting louder and louder and louder still, until it feels like my very skull is vibrating. I can't see, and my teeth are chattering. Eventually, it gets so bad that I drop the firewood and swat around my head, but that does nothing. So I just put my hands over my ears, but it feels like my hands are shaking too. It's at that point that I notice I lost sight of Lee. I shout out to him. As soon as the shout leaves my lips, I'm overcome with that violent stench. I can't even begin to describe it. Rancid and foul. Imagine if someone found a decaying roadkill and decided to leave it in a barrel for a week with some feces. Now imagine them holding your face to the barrel and opening it. You might get an idea of the smell. I put my hands over my nose. It took all my willpower not to hurl. I start heading back to the house when I catch someone at the corner of my eye. It's Lee. I feel really relieved to see him and start to walk toward him. I was about to make a joke about how he tried to ditch me, but he doesn't really react. He just stands there without any real emotion on his face. His face is kind of slack, like he's forgotten how to smile, or make any emotion, for that matter. His posture isn't relaxed like normal. He looks tense, like all his muscles had cramps in them. My smile drops from my face as he lets out a wheezing gasp noise, his shoulders convulsing up and down. It seems like he's trying to laugh, but all that comes out is a strange mockery. I felt so terrified. I turned on my heel, and it seemed that all my time on the track team paid off. I was running and jumping over branches, and then the buzzing returned, joined by the frail wheezing noise. I burst to the tree line and bumped directly into Kathy. After what felt like an eternity, I remember she said, "Whoa, what happened?" But as I was panting and shaking too much to answer, she brought me over to the campfire, which had already been started, and sat me next to Lee. He puts his arm around my waist and started to pick the twigs out of my hair. "What happened?" he asked. I looked at him, confused and angry. "What do you mean, what happened? You left me in the effing woods." He seemed perplexed. He then explained that he saw me, clear as day, heading back towards the house, and he followed me back. He was wondering what I was doing and what was going on. When he got back, he couldn't find me anywheres, and the others didn't see me leave the woods. They were just going to look for me when I burst through the tree line, after apparently running a marathon. "What happened anyway?" asked Landon. "Did you see a bear?" I wasn't sure if I was going crazy or not, but I was sure I saw Lee. Now that I was back to relative safety, I began to doubt myself. I told them anyways. I told them about the buzzing and how I thought I saw Lee. Allie said, "Maybe you're just overtired," and Harris agreed, mumbling something about mumbo-jumbo. After some time passed, we decided to try and relax and make some s'mores. It was pretty dark by this time, and the atmosphere seemed more lighthearted. We were all reminiscing about old times and getting sticky from marshmallow goo. Landon took out his harmonica and started doing this funny old blues guy impression he does. I was content, and I was just laying on Lee's lap, listening to everyone's banter. I was just kinda zoned out, enjoying myself. But then Landon stopped playing his harmonica. Everyone looked at him expectantly. No matter how tired everyone was, we could depend on Landon to be goofy. But now he was sitting still as a statue, peering into the woods. Guys, I think there's a coyote or a fox or something in there. Lee is a country guy and is used to little critters like that, so he seemed pretty unmoved. He told Landon that it's probably just smell their food and it would be easy to chase off if it come out of the woods. Yeah, but this one looked, I don't know, a little big. Its eyes are high off the ground, I think. I feel myself tense up, thinking back to the woods, and Lee snaps at Landon and tells Landon that he's not being funny and that he's scaring me. I tell him it's okay, but I ask Landon to stop. Landon looks at me and swears up and down that he's not being goofy. He isn't kidding. And he says this with no trace of his usual smart-ass smirk. He says that maybe we should just go inside in case it has rabies or something. So after a few more minutes, we leave the fire going and go inside the house, intending to go outside again after a while. There's a few couches in the living room, which faces out the big window towards our fire, so we all sit there just to try to keep an eye on it. Hare growls at Landon that he better not be messing around, but Landon swears up and down again that he isn't. We sit around for a while. Our feeling of lightheartedness is gone. The fire starts to burn low when we see it. Kathy lets out a nervous squeak and gasped, "Eyes." 2 eyes can be seen in the woods. The light off the fire is making them almost glow, like they're burning bright. Slowly, a shadowy figure makes its way out and towards the campfire. As it steps into the light, we notice it's the guy from before. He moves forward slowly, like a wolf circling prey, and crouches down by the fire. On closer inspection, we notice that he has no shoes, and what we thought were beige shorts was actually some kind of skin wrapped around his waist. I hear Harris mutter, "Are you serious?" And I feel Lee's sweaty hand slide into my own. Allie whispers timidly, "He could be mentally ill," to which Landon replies with, "Holy shit." The man paws around our stuff and goes to where Landon was sitting. I see the man reach for something on the ground, and his movements still seem robot-like, like he doesn't know how to extend his arms properly. I see something glint in his hand, and my first thought was, oh god, he has a knife? But then I hear a long, high-pitched note of a harmonica. Landon makes a weird gulping noise. It's like he wants to laugh and cry at the same time. The man blows into the harmonica again, holding the same high-pitched note for about 20 seconds or so. He makes a few more circles around the campfire, his dark eyes still shimmering and glowing. He stops for a minute and looks into the window. He stands there for 5 seconds before heading back into the woods. None of us dare to speak. None of us move. I can feel Lee's heart pounding beside me, and I hear Harris breathe a shuddering breath, which that alone tells me enough that I'm not the only one who is frigging terrified right now. "Okay, what's this dude's deal?" Landon asks weakly, Allie repeats that he could have a mental illness, but she is met by silence. Kathy looks extra nervous. She has her knees pulled up to her chin, and she's shivering. I ask her if she's okay, and she starts to rub her eyes, and her cheeks turn pink, like they always do when she's about to cry. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. I should have mentioned it earlier. I saw that guy earlier when we were walking up the driveway, but I didn't mention it. I didn't know. I didn't know. And she breaks off into tears, repeating her mantra of, I didn't know. Harris pats her awkwardly on the head and tells her that she doesn't need to apologize for not assuming every half-naked guy in the woods is a creep. She shakes her head viciously, and she begins to ramble on about old Navajo legends and beliefs. She tells us about how she's scared and thinking of how her mother would tell her old stories of Ye Nadalushi. Allie told her to be quiet and that she was only scaring herself. Lee goes through his bag and gives her a bottle of water. He covers her with a feathery blanket and tells her that she's going to be okay. The fire's nearly burnt out, and we decide that we won't be going out anymore that night. Harris and Lee go outside to grab our flashlights and things that we left in our hurry to get indoors. This happens without incident, unless you count the fact that it started to have a light drizzle outside as an incident. It's not all that bad. At least with the rain, we don't need to worry about catching the whole place on fire, Allie remarks. We pull the cushions off all the couches, which apparently has double beds. I'm in one with Lee beside me, and Landon is on the other side of him. Allie, Kathy, and Harris are in the other bed, and Allie and Harris seem to have made a protective barrier around Kathy. The sleeping arrangements are more cramped than what we intended, but we didn't want to separate. I guess I fell asleep at some point, because a loud clap of thunder woke me up. It was raining pretty hard by this point. The rain was coming down sideways like a thick sheet. I asked, "Hey, is anyone awake?" But no one replies. There's a flash of thunder, and I can make out Allie, Kathy, and Harris's sleeping forearms. Lee has his arms around me, and I pulled a blanket up over his shoulders and snuggle in closer. Another flash of lightning, and I see it. Those two green-yellow orbs lit up in the darkness, standing right at the huge ground-level window. The house goes dark again, but the light of those orbs have burnt into my retinas. It seems everywhere I look for a couple of seconds, the orbs are there. Another flash of lightning, and I see the man walking along the long side of the window. It goes dark again, and then bright, and now he's outside the window at my feet. I nudge Lee awake. I tell him not to move, that the man is circling the house. He shushes me and kisses my ear. The lightning flashes again. The man has made a full circle and is now to my left again. I think he's trying to get a rise out of us, Lee whispers. I ask him what we should do. Stay still, I guess. If he gets in, I have my buck knife under a pillow. Landon shifts beside us, all groggy, and moans, "Keep it down, lover birds, I'm trying to sleep." I tell Landon that he's an idiot and that the man is outside. He groans. Landon and Lee have their eyes shut, I think. Mine are open to slits. The room lights up again, and that's when I notice it. The guy is inside. I guess Landon didn't have his eyes shut because we scream at the same time. Lee sits up, holding his buck knife. "Listen, we don't want trouble. Just leave us alone. Don't make me do anything crazy." The man is moving slowly forward. His eyes are glittering in the darkness. Lee is staying still, unable to see in the darkness. The man opens and closes his mouth a couple of times in a choking growl. He says, "Trouble, trouble." His voice didn't sound right. It gives me a sick, sinking feeling inside. It sounds like a scratchy record, like a parrot mimicking you or something. The room lights up again, and the man is nowhere. Harris and the others are sitting up now, bewildered. Lee is on his feet and putting on a shirt. The son of a bitch is in here. He brandishes his knife around. We need to leave. My eyes are starting to adjust, and I can see the shape of Allie tilt her head. It's dark as shit, and piss-pouring rain. Harris is on his feet now, reaching around in the darkness for a flashlight. I think he's the one that needs to leave, he growls, and he makes his way to the kitchen, hatchet in hand. Lee follows closely behind me. Noticing they took all the weapons, the rest of us follow, Kathy sticking to me like glue. This is what it wants, she mutters. It's a game to him. We check the house, upstairs, every room, every closet. We don't find anything. We all return to the living room after that, trying to decide what to do. It's going to be morning soon, Harris says. We'll leave as soon as the sun comes out. I didn't want to stay there any longer, but blundering down that long, muddy driveway in the darkness was not an attractive option either. We all settled back in. I think we all got scattered sleep, except for Lee, who sat up the whole night keeping watch. Every time I drifted off, I found myself jolting awake again. Eventually, the sun came up, and the outside was bright and pink. We hurriedly shoved our crap in our bags. My bladder felt like it was going to burst, and when everyone was outside, I asked Kathy to come to the side of the house with me to pee, because I was not going back into that house. She still looked traumatized, her dark skin looking pale, and she hugged her shoulders. I squatted down to pee by the house and told her not to look. She didn't reply. I didn't expect her to. I finished and stood back up, and I told her to come. She stood still, her arms still crossed, looking at the ground. Come on, I urged. I started towards the others, peering around the corner. Kathy was with the others, sitting on the stairs. I felt that sinking feeling in my stomach again. I turned around to see Kathy's doppleganger, her arms wrapped around her shoulders. She was shuddering. She lifted her upper lip in a weird sort of smile and sighed heavily, mouth opening and closing. Her breath hit me, and it smelled awful. I choked, and she backed slowly toward the tree line, staring right into my eyes the whole time, not blinking. She choked out the words, "Come on," in that strange, weird, mimicky voice. During the on part, her voice changed into something that sounded like a fox almost, and then she vanished into the underbrush. I guess that's pretty much it. We rushed to the van, loaded our shit, and hightailed out of there, trying to ignore this disgusting aroma that seemed to follow us, and a strange voice choking loverbirds. Nothing terrible happened after we left. There's no twist to this. We all just have a lot of nightmares of that thing. Me waking up to see it outside my window or at the end of my bed. I'm not in contact with Allie anymore. Kathy stays home. She never did go to university to get her degree. Landon changes the subject if anybody brings it up. Harris just gets mad. Lee will listen to me, though, when I wake up in a cold sweat. He did talk about being on watch during one occasion, but you can tell that he wants to pretend it didn't happen. That isn't to say I'm overly eager to discuss it myself. I'm all for forgetting about the whole incident entirely. So that story was just wild, wasn't it? Yeah, there's not a whole lot other than that I can add to it, other than that it's wild and creepy and scary and everything else. So, with that in mind, if you have any of your own stories that you'd like to send in, then I have an email in the description that you can send them to if you want to. I also have a Patreon and a PayPal if that's something that you're interested in. The super thanks button also works too, but you can also just watch the video. I appreciate it either way. And with that, I think that I will end it off here, and I will see you in the next one. So thank you for pulling up a stump, thank you for staying a while, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.